I started an Etsy store in October of 2022 selling print on demand. To date, my Etsy store has been open for a little over 7 months, and I have sold over $25,000 in revenue. In this video, we're going to talk about how long it took for me to reach my first 500 sales. We're going to take a look at my analytics month by month and discuss some of my strategies along the way. My name is Taylor, and my channel is focused on all things Etsy and print on demand. If those are two things that interest you, I hope that you will boop that subscribe button down below and follow my journey to becoming a 6-figure Etsy seller. If you're not familiar with print on demand is when you partner with a printing company such as Printify or Printful. Essentially what happens is you create designs, you upload those designs onto products from your print company's website, and then it syncs to your Etsy store. When a customer then purchases your item on Etsy, it will send all of the information over to your print company that you've chosen to work with so that they can make, package, and ship the item so that you don't have to do any of the physical work in creating the product. You just upload designs, create designs, and handle any customer service. When I first opened my store, I started off selling mainly apparel such as t-shirts and sweatshirts. And so looking at my timeline, I was able to reach those first 500 sales within my first 5 months of selling on Etsy. And so I share this because if I can start in late 2022, then I believe that anybody can start this business still today and see success with it. So I hope that this video provides you inspiration and motivation to keep pushing or maybe to just start today. So diving into my analytics, what we're looking at here is my first month selling on Etsy. So we're in October of 2022. When I started learning about print on demand and selling on Etsy, I got really excited about it. I saw a lot of potential in it and I wanted to give it a really good shot. I cannonballed in. I immediately started designing. I immediately started creating listings and branding my store. And so that really leads me to what my first strategy would be, and that is daily activity. In the early days of my store, really what I prioritized was doing something for my store every single day. Some of those days it was creating new designs and creating new listings. Some days it was just branding my shop. So for example, filling in my shop bio, adding a custom shop banner, creating a logo for the brand that I was trying to establish. If Etsy gives me the option to add a banner, add photos, add announcements, I was going to take advantage of all of those features so that my shop was fully complete, fully filled in, and I looked like a professional brand and a professional seller on their platform. Now, I also mentioned that I made it a focus to make sure that I was designing and listing. I find that a lot of people really focus and push towards having a ton of listings on their Etsy store, and they say in the beginning to just list. However, that's not what I recommend. There is something to be said about quality over quantity. We want to make sure that we're creating listings that are optimized, that they are research-based listings. We know that people are searching for these types of items. We know that the designs that we're creating are designs that sell well. We want to make sure that we are setting ourselves up for success. It can be discouraging, I think, when you hear the recommendations to list, and that's what you're doing. You're creating listings, you're uploading things every single day, but you're still not getting sales. It kind of makes you question, well, the advice that I'm being given is to list, and to add a ton of products to my Etsy store. I'm not getting results though. It's not working. And that can lead a lot of people down a path where they feel discouraged and they don't feel like they can continue. That's not the advice that I'm giving. I want you to have daily activity. I want you to list, but I want you to take the time to focus on creating quality listing. Now, the reason that I recommend this daily activity strategy as well is because it's going to help you really learn the ins and outs of this business. When you're spending time every single day, even if it's just for 5 minutes, you're going to become more comfortable with how Etsy works, how to create listings. You're going to just understand the platform a lot more, which is going to help you in the long run so that you can create a more efficient process with your listings going forward as well. What's important when we're first starting out on Etsy is to not be extreme, but to be consistent. Consistency is going to help you learn about Etsy, learn about print on demand, set yourself up for long-term success. So here we are now in November of 2022, and I was continuing my strategy of daily activity. I was creating designs, I was uploading new listings, and I really just spent a little bit of time each day in my store. And so when you look at my views, you can see that my views were steadily climbing every single day. And I attribute that to that daily activity. I was creating more listings. Having more listings, I was getting more eyeballs on my store. And when people came to my store, it was filled out. It looked complete. It didn't look like I just started randomly on a Tuesday and opened up my store. It looked like I actually had a established store and brand, even if I didn't have that many sales yet. At this time, I had heard the great advice to double down on what is already working. And so that is my second strategy that I would recommend to you to the success of your Etsy journey. What I began doing is focusing on any of the designs, any of the niches that I saw taking off in my store, having sales, getting orders, and I would take those designs and I would add them to other products. So at this time, I also started adding some of my more popular designs to mugs. I also started adding my designs to tote bags. Anything that was already selling, I knew that the design sold. I just wanted to see if I could also sell it on different products, or maybe even have more success with that design on a different product. I also focused on the niches that were selling well. So for example, if I started selling a lot of items that were in the pet niche, I would create more items using that same SEO that was already working for me in my other listings. And I would create more designs for that specific niche and see if I could double down even further into it. And so when we look at my orders for November, by doubling down and having this daily activity, you can see I started to have orders at least every other day. And some of the days I started to see multiple orders, which was really cool. I started to see 2 orders, 3 orders, and then I even ended the month having a day with 5 orders, which was absolutely insane to me. I was really excited. Now, rolling into December, people were already on Etsy's website shopping, and I definitely attribute that to having some of my early success here. Naturally, if there's more people on Etsy's website, there's more opportunity for people to see my listings and for me to have sales on my listing. Now, as far as my order volume for December, you can see that it was relatively consistent following November, which was really cool. Of course, the bulk of my sales and bulk of my orders did happen in that first half of December leading up to Christmas. But what was really exciting was to see that my sales stayed relatively consistent following Christmas. My order volume did decrease, but I was still seeing daily sales almost the entire rest of the month for December. I was not anticipating whatsoever. I anticipated my store to die and to have no sales at all. And what was really cool is that momentum continued and it actually followed into January, which ended up being my best month yet. Looking at January, I had sales every single day except for one day, which was a really awesome accomplishment for me. I was really proud of that. I really didn't expect daily sales. I figured maybe a trickle here and there. For me to see that my Etsy store was staying consistent and I was still growing every single day was a really huge accomplishment and something that I really attribute to having that daily activity and focusing on improving my shop just 1% better every single day. It really started to pay off and I saw the results of those actions really begin to compound. Another thing that I noticed in January was when I received an order, a lot of the time it wasn't just for one item. I started seeing orders with multiple sales within them. So customers weren't just purchasing one item per order anymore. I started seeing a lot more orders where my customers were purchasing 2 or 3 or even more items within each order. And that leads me to my third strategy, which is my free versus paid shipping strategy. Rewinding back to October, I had started my store with everything being free shipping. Every single item in my store, I priced it accordingly so that I was able to offer free shipping and still earn a profit. And Etsy actually allows their customers to filter through search by free shipping versus paid shipping. And I wanted to make sure that if any customers were searching on Etsy and they clicked that they wanted a shop that offered free shipping, I didn't want mine to be excluded. So I immediately started my store with free shipping on every single item. So at this time, I had started doing a lot of research about if I should offer free shipping or have my customers pay for shipping when they're purchasing items through my Etsy store. What I found is that most of the items on the first page of Etsy search, they all had paid shipping for the most part. It was very few and far between that an item actually was offering free shipping. And so it really made me start to question what I was doing with my shipping strategy in my store. So this is where I decided to make a change, and I developed what I would call my hybrid strategy when it comes to shipping. And my hybrid strategy involved incorporating both free shipping and paid shipping within my store. Specifically, what I started to focus on is if items were above $35 or below $35. For those who did not know, Etsy actually offers a free shipping guarantee for customers on their website that you as a seller can opt in for. It tells your customers or potential customers that if they purchase $35 or more worth of items from your store, then they get free shipping when they check out. And Etsy has stated that shops that opt in for the free shipping guarantee do get priority placement in Etsy search. So your items are going to naturally rank higher if you're opted in for this free shipping guarantee. And as a new Etsy store, as a new Etsy shop, I wanted to make sure that I was getting priority placement and I was having some type of assistance, any assistance that I could get so that my items could rank higher and get more eyeballs on them so that I could potentially get more sales. And so this is where my strategy really started to focus on that $35 threshold. What I started to do was actually price my items that were $35 and up or close to $35. And I made sure that they were priced accordingly so that I could offer free shipping on those items. So this is typically my more expensive items like my sweatshirts, so crew necks and hoodies that I sold in my store. And then for my less expensive items such as t-shirts, mugs, or tote bags at the time, I priced those in a way that I also had the customer pay for shipping for them. So they were priced a little bit lower, however, the customer then paid for shipping. And that strategy ended up having those multiple sales per order. What I found is that I think when customers added those lesser priced items to the cart, they saw that if they just added a few dollars more or another item to their cart, they could qualify for free shipping. That's what my customers started to do when they were checking out on my Etsy store. I had filled my Etsy store with listings that complemented each other. I had doubled down in niches that were working for me. If somebody was buying a t-shirt in that pet niche, I then had other items in that same niche that might be something my buyer would be interested in. That allowed my customer to purchase more than one item when they were checking out. This strategy, by using this free and paid shipping throughout my store, really helped my sales climb exponentially in the month of January. January 31st, I reached the 250 sales milestone. So I was just 250 sales away, halfway to that 500 sale mark, and I was only 3.5 months into my Etsy journey. For February, I did see a little bit of a dip in revenue. However, it was a shorter month and it also was still the beginning of the year. Typically, the first months of the year are going to be the slower times of the year when selling online for any business. So in February, I was just happy to see those relatively consistent orders. And just like January, there was only one day in February that I didn't have any sales at all. So I consider this to be a success and I consider this to be a win for the month of February. And then bringing us to March 23rd is when I finally reached my first 500 sales on Etsy. Reaching this point in my Etsy journey, the last strategy that I want to mention is the strategy of using Etsy ads. So Etsy ads are something that are extremely controversial. I feel that some people love them, some people hate them. If you would like a more detailed video about Etsy ads and how I have specifically used them for the success and growth of my business, definitely leave a comment down below and I would be happy to make a whole video about that. What I wanted to touch on with Etsy ads is that I believe that they can really help speed up the process in finding out if a listing is going to be viable or not and actually have sales on Etsy. My perspective on Etsy ads are they are going to essentially work as a tool that is going to pay to see the path for your listing. When I look at the amount of money that I spent on Etsy ads, I always kept it relatively low. The most money that I ever spent on Etsy ads was $7 a day, and that's actually where I still have my Etsy ads. That is kind of the sweet spot for me right now. That seems to be what's working, where I am still profiting and profitable on the Etsy ads that I do run for my business. And maybe that's something that I'll consider raising in the future. However, right now, that's what works for me. What I would recommend if Etsy ads are something that you're interested in trying is setting it for a very low budget, $1, maybe $3 a day maximum, running those on your more successful sellers. So your listings that have already had sales, or your listings, if they haven't had any sales yet, ones that you know have been completely optimized. So they have great mock-ups, great SEO, great descriptions, everything that Etsy is asking for information on about that product. You have filled out that listing to its fullest extent. Those are the listings that I would put those Etsy ads on and take for a test run to see if they're going to be successful or not. As for where I am today in my Etsy journey, my Etsy store has been open for about 7 months now, and here are my all-time analytics. As you can see, I've sold over $27,000 in revenue to date, which is absolutely incredible. I'm so thankful for the growth that I've seen within my Etsy store, and I really attribute it to many of the strategies that I talked about in this video, and that's why I wanted to start this channel and share them with you guys. I will be responding to all comments down below as well. So if you have any questions, definitely feel free to comment them down below. Or if you just want to say hi, feel free to say hi. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next one.